Well, if you live in the Delhi NCR region, then I'm sure by now all of you are aware that the pollution levels really have skyrocketed and you can't really drive your BS3 and BS4 cars on certain days because the government has banned the entry of certain type of vehicles. So, if you want to save yourself and buy a car which doesn't offer any kind of pollution, then the MG Comet is part of that solution. It's also a very good car for daily driving in the city, irrespective of pollution or no pollution. And of course, it's a great choice for having a second car in the family. So today we're shooting this car in Delhi's very busy Connaught Place area, and we are in the middle of traffic. So in case you hear a lot of ambient noise behind of scooters and auto rickshaws, please excuse me. But we want to drive this car in real world conditions and tell you how it is to drive, give you some positives and maybe some negatives, and tell you whether you should consider buying this car as your next vehicle. Well, so right now, as you can see from the visual on the outside, we're around the Connaught Place area in Delhi, which is really one of the busiest places to be. But you might be saying, why have we got all the bags and all these things over here? The reason for that, of course, is that this car's boot is really lacking in space, and that's one big negative on this car. You don't have a proper boot, so you need to store away these bags and these odd things over here. And it's not only about the boot, it's also about no storage place here. There's no glove box, so to say. So, in case you have your cell phone, your wallet, and you want to keep it in the car, you'll have to keep it on the outside, or maybe you have to find some place where you can hide it, because there is no glove box which is hidden away and there's no boot proper. So really, that is the one big negative on this car. It's tiny on the outside and it's tiny in terms of boot space as well, but what's not tiny about it is its personality, both on the outside as well as interior. As you can see, it's a nice and bright and airy place. Even though it's not very wide, you still have plenty of place to have two occupants in the front and two at the back. And of course, you get two completely digital screens which really look very fancy, and all the materials are absolutely first rate. Soft materials here, soft plastic here. Steering wheel is nice to grip and hold, and of course these small round buttons will remind you of the older generation of the iPod. If you remember the iPod, which had a lot of music in it, you could store a lot of music, and it had buttons like these. So it's a bit of a nostalgia trip as well inside the MG Comet. And what you'll also like is the seat comfort. Now these seats aren't very thick, but even then they offer you very good support, very good cushioning, and you also get pretty open places over here right ahead of the gear lever. So these are things that a lot of buyers will really appreciate. Some more storage places would have been welcome, but still you get a cup holder right in front of the AC vent over here at this side. And overall, I think in terms of the overall cabin design, the feel, the fit and finish, it is a winner. The only negative, as I said, is that there aren't any lockable glove boxes or any places to hide your stuff, and there's no boot as well, which I'm sure you already know by now. Anyways, let's jump in the back seat and tell you how much space there is. But one big positive is that the side doors are nice and wide and large, so getting in and out is quite a breezy affair. Once you move this seat over here, and of course you drop this seat down from this side, you all need to do is do this, and plenty of place to get inside the cabin, even for chubbier people like me. Let's show you how the space is at the back and if it's practical enough for a family of 4. Well, so now I'm in the back seat, and in terms of knee room and headroom, it is quite sufficient. Now the front seat has been adjusted for my height, which for reference is 5'10", and I'm in the back seat. So you have plenty of place over here to, stretch your feet. But the only thing is the seat has, been set rather close to the floor, which means that the knee and hip angle isn't very comfortable. It's decent. It's not something which is uncomfortable. But of course, if you're carrying a bag with you, maybe a laptop bag or maybe some other stuff in it, you'll have to keep it on the seat, because as I said before, there's no place in the boot, or maybe you'll have to keep it over here on the floor. So that's the big issue inside this car, no boot space. But other than that, it's a nice and comfortable place, large windows, so you never feel claustrophobic. And of course, you also get your own grab handle over here, which you can easily sit like this, belt up and sleep off like the boss. But it's best for 2 and really not for 3, because it isn't a very wide car. Well, so here I'm driving the MG Comet now. Now this car isn't a very powerful car, so don't go out and seek those 0 to 60 numbers or 0 to 100 numbers. Don't think about all those things. What you do need to keep in mind is the range, which is about 200 odd kilometers, and generally it does show 200 kilometers, and it also drops down in a very normal and very staggered manner. It doesn't immediately drop down from a certain percentage like some other cars do. So in that sense, it is quite good. And what's also good about it is the light controls. Yes, the steering wheel really is very light. The overhangs of this car are really short, so you can see the edges of the car both in the front and the back. So it's a very good car for people who are learning how to drive, or who just started driving out, and you can see the edges of the bonnet, you can see the edges around the car, which gives you a great sense of proportion, and you can jostle for space on the road with those auto rickshaws, those manic auto rickshaws who drive, you know, in a very maverick kind of way. So these are things which customers will enjoy, and you can really punt it around town without any hesitation. The ride quality also is decent. We've kept it with us for the last 15 days. So ride quality is decent. Yes, some of those rumble strips, they can filter into the cabin, but they never feel very uncomfortable. They never feel obtrusive. They never feel like you can't live with it. So the ride quality in that sense is decent as well. What you'll also appreciate is the overall interior quality. I really enjoyed the interior quality of this car, and it gives you a certain sense of feel good factor when you're driving this car, because you get a certain vibe, certain positive vibe, and that is something which a lot of customers will truly appreciate as well. What you'll also appreciate, of course, is the fact that the car has 3 different driving modes. So you get economy, you get normal, and you get sports. And the sporting mode, this car really does feel like it is in a different zone, and it just feels very lively, feels very, very nice, and very, generally quick in terms of the acceleration. So these are things which you need to keep in mind. Of course, you will drop some range if you use the sport mode on a regular basis. But again, if you are a keen driver, if you want that quick acceleration move from red light to red light, you want to jump lights quickly, then the sport mode is the one to go for. What else is there to like? Well, lots of things apparently, because you get huge windows all across, which gives you a sense of airiness. You feel nice and bright in the cabin. You also, as I said before, see the edges of the bonnet, so that is also something quite good. And ultimately, it's a very hassle-free car, because as I said, it's not a very wide car. It's wide enough to have 2 inside, so it can easily maneuver around those badly passive roads, and also those small lanes in case you're around CP, Connaught Place, or maybe some other market where the parking is tight. You can just request the parking attendant to find a space in the 2-wheeler parking and adjust this car over there, because this car's dimensions will easily manage to help you find a nice and tight parking spot. So these are things which really make a big difference for people who drive primarily in the city. And as a city car, I think it's quite good, because the AC also works very well, air conditioning works quite well, dimensions are very tiny. It's a light car, it's got light controls. The range is decent for driving, maybe if you drive around 30-40 kilometers daily, then you can easily recharge it over the weekend at your home, because even if you plug it up in your power socket, it'll take about 6 hours or 5 hours to go from 0 to about 80%, 90%. And these are things which make it nice in terms of practicality. And what also makes it nice is the fact that you get big doors, which I said before. So getting in and out is a breezy affair. Yes, the back seat isn't the roomiest, but it's decent enough for having 2 on board. And the boot is very tiny, so that's the only big negative on the car. But you can ration your trips to the mall and ration your buying, because, what's negative can be turned into positive. In case your wife says, let's go to the mall, take this car out and tell her, don't buy too much stuff, because we don't have a big boot. So we'll have to manage to keep the stuff inside the car and manage how we keep it. So play smart and buy the Comet. So you save some money on those shopping mall trips, and also save money in case your mother-in-law comes in. You can tell her to take a taxi from the airport, and you don't have to go pick her up, because there's no boot on this car. Well, jokes apart, this car is quite good in terms of the pricing as well. You can buy it with the battery as a service option, so the initial cost is low, or you can also buy it outright if you don't want to keep any kind of debt with you. You don't want to keep paying on a regular basis. You can also buy it as an outright down payment. So all these options are there for you to take. Anyways, that's about the MG Comet. The only big negative, as I said before, is that the boot isn't big enough. Ride comfort again is quite good, because it does soak in the bumps well. It's got compact wheelbase, so considering that it's got a compact wheelbase, I think the ride is quite nice and decent, because those rumble strips and those badly passive roads do enter the cabin once in a while, but never feel uncomfortable. Anyways, time for me to stop talking. If you've seen this video till the end, please give us a like. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this car. And as always, do follow us on all our social medias, and also do check out our website, timesdrive.in. So bye for now, and thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you soon in another one.